So, namaste and welcome to Satsang. As you heard, this is the last Satsang before a little break, and sometimes the idea for whatever wants to be expressed in each Satsang comes at the last minute. So, as I'm sitting in this chair, some sense of what wants to express itself will come, and sometimes it doesn't come at all. And sometimes I'm just sitting here like I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, Not even a vague subject, but about 2 days ago, this strong sense of a real urgency, a real need to be very, very direct in this satsang came with this sense of being as direct as I can to shortcut the suffering and the sense of suffering, at least, because we're never really suffering. We think we are. But as the real self, we are never actually suffering, and there is no separate self. We can prove that through our inquiry. So, if what comes here during the satsang is too direct, then it's totally okay to take what is useful and leave the rest as always. Um, Usually, though, I tend to attract beings that are ready for that kind of directness and even want it. So, hopefully, this is exactly the Christmas present that you have been waiting for. So, satsang is for directly experiencing who we are and really beginning to leave the idea of who we think we are, this apparent seeker that is searching towards, moving towards some future goal where we feel we're going to be more awakened or more free or feel better or whatever goal it is that we've put in front of ourselves. This point in my future where I'm going to feel better and my problems are going to be solved and all of that. And for me, it never worked that way. I had to really make a stand as who I really am, reminding myself of who I've seen myself to be, who I know myself to be, even while my life was in a complete mess. And only when I took that stand did my life turn around to what I would want to experience. So if you find yourself in that situation right now, whether your physical life or your emotions or your finances or your relationships or your mind is completely upside down to how you would like it to be, then really consider listening deeply to and doing your best to apply what's going to be said here in this session. And I'm saying that because I wasted so much time trying to fix my outer world to in order to feel better. And then I wasted so much time trying to become awakened so that I felt better. And at every moment, there's a possibility to see who we already are, that which is free now and isn't suffering. Even when the body's feeling negative emotion, physical pain, when the mind is going crazy, when you don't have enough of something or too much of something else, still there is something about us that is already free and isn't suffering. So no matter who we have thought ourselves to be, and even the spiritual person that is almost there, almost at awakening, the sense of a someone that really begins to feel like it's making progress or isn't making progress at all, that one has to be discarded in to see who we really, really are. There is something about you that's just aware, just awareness itself. It is awareness of what your ears are hearing right now, what your eyes are seeing. That awareness is constant. What is seen and perceived is constantly changing, but the awareness itself is free right now. It's just aware. It's not a person being aware. It is just the infinite, formless reality, the awareness itself. And if you want to get really, really direct, consider your life right now, wherever your body would go, whatever it would experience. All this attempt to change the outside world or to change the inside world of thoughts and feelings. All we really know about the outside world, so your job, your relationships, everything, is a bunch of sense perception, right? If you think about anywhere that your body has ever been and anyone that you've ever met, all you knew about that experience was what your senses perceived. That's the only information you have about the world. Because we have this idea that we're a separate someone moving around in the world, having relationships and working a job and all of those things. Can you prove any of that to be true? Really, all you can say for certain is there's sense perception going on, in the waking state at least, and that there might be thoughts about what is going on, what is being perceived through the senses. Can you really guarantee there is a world outside of you? Would you have any evidence of that at all if you didn't have your five senses right now? There's a world that seems to be external to us. I'm here and the world is out here, all these other beings. But really, what it comes down to is your senses perceiving. If you go out to a restaurant to have a meal and you meet a whole lot of friends, all you really know about that whole experience is what your eyes took in vibrationally and your ears and the tactile sensations and the emotions or thoughts that came inside. You don't really have any evidence at all that you've interacted with a world of other beings. Just some thoughts, some emotions, and sense perception. And this may seem very anti-world, and it's not. It's just being very honest, right? We think we've lived this entire life as a separate self. We think we were striving to reach somewhere, maybe striving to reach somewhere right now. Maybe the idea that you're finally starting to get somewhere is really perpetuating inside, or that you're not getting anywhere. But what do you actually know about your world, your life? If somehow, amazingly, you couldn't use your senses, what would you know about any of it? Only what we keep alive in here from memory, right? And anticipation of a apparent future. So thoughts about reality, emotions, and sense perception, that's all we can actually say is happening. If this is too direct, then just, you don't really have to do anything with it. Just let it come and go. When I really began to realize this, though, it gave me this capacity to just let the outside world move because I had been so invested in waking up to the truth so that my outer world began to reflect that. So I could experience abundance and in all the ways it would show up in terms of time and resources and energy and everything. And abundance inside in terms of love and peace and all the things I wanted to feel. But in the waking state, all we have is a bunch of sense perceptions. That's really all we know right now. Just what's coming in through the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and the sense of touch. That's all we really know for certain. Can we really be sure about anything else than that? All of this is to say that this separate self, this seeker, this one who's desperately trying to get somewhere, we have to start to doubt the reality of that one, right? The one that feels it's succeeding or failing. How do you know if you're succeeding or failing? If at awakening or anything, if all you have is your sense perceptions going on and some thoughts and emotions. Thoughts, would they really know what's going on anyway? Are thoughts really a good reference point to listen to in terms of how you're doing in your life and your awakening? Mind is a bunch of thoughts, right? And mind is talking about what it thinks is happening, and it's going around in a cycle. Thoughts talking about what it thinks is going on. And then thoughts talking about the results of what it thinks has happened, and thoughts anticipating future events. All of which is just happening in a closed, airtight loop, completely disconnected from reality itself. Completely. So all you can really say for certain is that you're aware of what your senses are perceiving, what your mind is thinking. And then later, when the waking state goes, they won't even be that. There won't even be thoughts. There won't even be emotions, and certainly no sense perception. So again, we can begin to detach ourselves a little bit from being so invested in what's going on in phenomenality. And again, I'm not anti-manifestation. I really quite enjoy it. But just the recognition that my supposed history of all these things I've tried to achieve or failed at achieving or didn't do right or did do right, how much of that can we be actually certain of? Again, if we look at what we can actually prove right now, there's some sense perception going on, and there's something watching it, something aware. We call that is aware just me. It's just me. I'm noticing, I'm aware. So instead of being so fully invested in this, we can begin to be more invested in what is perceiving all of this. The only thing that remains constantly, the only thing that's reliable is actually not a thing, not a thing at all. It is our real self. One infinite awareness expressing itself through billions and billions and billions of forms, an infinite number of forms. 8 billion of those are human being forms, look like human beings. And in each one of those 8 billion bodies, it is convinced that it's living a life separate to everyone else and everything else. It's convinced that it has an independent reality separate to everything else. Because we tend to live in our head, right? We tend to give total authority. But again, let's go back to what we can actually prove. Can you prove that you're sitting in the room that you're sitting in? Can you prove that you're attending satsang? All you really have is what's coming in through your senses, the stimuli coming in through your eyes, vibration, and in through your ears. Tactile sensation of whatever you happen to be sitting on right now. A bunch of sense perceptions. What if this apparent separate self and all of its problems come down to this? Sense perceptions. Do you really know that you ran out of something, or do you only know the thoughts that happened and the emotion that came at the time? Do you really know that you ever achieved anything? And again, this if this is too direct, then simply discard it. Or the waking state is here, the senses are perceiving, and we think they were interacting in a world full of other beings. But really, that's just thoughts about a world and thoughts about other beings. Can we really prove that they're there? The only thing we can be certain of is that something is watching all of this, something eternal, something formless, something that remains constant whether the senses are perceiving or not, something that remains constant whether there is a body form appearing or not. The waking state is the biggest dream of all. We are so in love with it. We really believe we're moving around in a world full of other beings. Have you noticed that? It's very seductive, right? Very alluring. Can you prove that any of it is true? You don't lose the fun and the joy in it all by admitting it's not real. In fact, you get a lot more of it. It's not real as a separate world outside. It is real as the infinite self. You're experiencing yourself as all of these apparent forms and shapes, watching all of these shapes come and go in front of you through every body-mind vehicle. All you're doing is watching a parade of shapes come and go and come and go. And some thoughts about those shapes in manifestation. Also more shapes. And we invent this character that we feel we are, and we give it a life and a history and regrets and doubts and successes and failures. But if we're willing to let that be destroyed, piece by piece, we begin to find a much more expansive version of ourselves, the awareness self that is constant. If there's a willingness there to realize, I don't actually really know there even is a world. That used to bring some fear for me. Like, what is all this? It's all just going to disappear when I realize it's not actually a world of separate objects and beings. But nothing really changed in that way. It's just now that I can look at anything and have the same equanimity. I can experience anything and have the same equanimity inside because I know what it really is. It's all this one formless awareness looking like all of this. Pure shapeless sentience that can make itself look like any number of shapes. Never ending. Never ending in the way it can change the appearance to an infinite number of apparent forms. And at some point, it has to really become urgent inside us. We begin to rely upon what is actually real. Have you noticed how you seem to spend a lot of time, as I did, of course, trying to fix the problems of this imaginary someone who has a long history of problems? And even if you manage to apparently solve some of these problems, more come along straight away. You cannot end the dream of being a someone by getting to the end of its problems. Like the mind says, when I finish this list of problems that I have, then I'll wake up to the truth. Freedom is at the end of this list of problems, right? It never works out that way. As long as you're interested in solving problems of someone who doesn't really exist a separate self. Reality will always seem to be obscured. And at some point for me, there just came this urgency, there's nothing in phenomenality or manifestation that I can reference as being anything to do with me. What do I mean by that? They're all shapes passing in front of me, the awareness. Can I keep referencing thoughts and emotions and sensations to tell me how I'm doing? What is good evidence then? What is the evidence we can rely upon to tell us what is real? Well, it has to be that which is always here, always perceivable, not with our eyes. Right now, we know something is listening to this through your ears and watching this through your eyes. What is that? You have to become more fascinated with what is real, at least as fascinated with what is real as we have been with what is unreal. Mind and its endless sequence of fires that need putting out. We've been so ready to try to put them out. Now we need to be so ready to confirm again and again what is real. To just experience it now for a moment. What is it that's listening through your ears? Can you find it? Is it actually a person? What is it that's receiving the visual stimuli through your eyes? What is it that sees what your eyes are seeing? Is it a someone? Where is it? Is it something substantial or something intangible? If your mind is saying, this is the best talk I've ever heard, I love it, I want more of it, something sees that too. If your mind's going, I'm so confused, I haven't a clue what she's talking about, you also see that. There's nothing that happens in your experience without you being there to perceive it first. Silently watching, witnessing, constantly listening, effortlessly. Listening to nothing at all, or listening to some sound like these words, but always listening. Have you ever had to actually start listening? Or were you already listening? There's something that is your real self, which is not a locatable person, not sitting inside a body. It's also using the body to perceive, getting all this information from the senses. Your body's more like a probe that's experiencing its environment and giving this vibrational feedback constantly. But the one it's feeding back to, can it be found? Is it a someone? And if it isn't, what does that mean for you, for your whole journey towards awakening and all the things you think you've got to achieve before you can feel free or peaceful? How much more effort and striving is necessary if you're already something that cannot be quantified, can't be perceived by the senses? Already innately free because you're not an object that can be caught. This thing that you are, this nothingness, can it have any attachments? Does it have any hands to hold on to beliefs? Is it the one with beliefs? How many karmic patterns does awareness have to transcend before it's free? Trick question. So I'm just trying to encourage and instill some urgency, some fire there. We can go on watching the passing shapes and they'll keep passing and trying to sort them out and rearrange these shapes into something that our mind thinks will make us feel better. When I get all this to look like this, I'm going to feel how I want to feel finally. Or we can use those passing shapes to remind us that we're seeing it all right now, already, free, and that it has always been that way. There is never a time when you did not exist as this, and there never could be. As amazing to the mind as that is, you never came into existence. You're not a form that appears, lives for a certain amount of time, and then disappears. Appear and disappear only apply to forms, right? Appear is just to become visible, perceptible. Disappear is to become invisible again. The body appears one day as a tiny form and grows and changes, and then eventually it will disappear and disintegrate. But that's not how you are, is it? Let's check that out. Are you changing? That which is perceiving all of this. Is it changing? Can you be born or die if you're not an actual form, not an object? Forms are happening inside of you, shapes. As if you just love to throw out these shapes, just to make these shapes constantly. Thought shapes, emotions, sensations, perceptions, physical, tangible objects. Even subtle shapes like a dream at nighttime, energy moving, all of that. From that to the gross tangible forms like the galaxies and the universe itself. All of it and everything in between, from the smallest subatomic particle to the biggest form we have ever seen, whatever that is. In all of that, has anything happened to you? Did you ever transcend anything? How would you do that if you have no substance or shape? Did you ever identify with the mind? Can you do that if you have no substance or shape? Can you ever free yourself from the mind if you have no substance or shape? I am lost in illusion again. It just seemed to be another thought form that passes through you. I managed to come back out of it now. Another thought form. I'm making progress now. Another thought form. I'm getting nowhere. I'm going backwards. All just floating through you. Mind itself, whatever that is, if we can actually find it when we really look, it's just a shape floating through you, like a tumbleweed blowing down a road. Let's check in one more time. What is it that's hearing these words? Who is it? Can you find it? Does it have any substance? Even if it seems to be a someone here, something is aware even of that sense of a someone. Something's watching even this apparent person. There's awareness even of this. This is the most important thing. We can spend lifetimes trying to get somewhere towards some imaginary future where there's this flashing neon sign saying liberation this way. Or we can see that which is already free right now. Still free, even when the mind and the emotions are all upside down. Just as free when our life is working as when it isn't. And the moment we begin to give more importance to this that always is, then all of the phenomena begin to right themselves anyway. You can make a decision now to just rest as this, to be more interested in who you really are, than carry on walking down a road that never ends. I've never seen a separate being reach the end of suffering. I never met a separate being. I used to think I had, of course. But I've seen many people realize the freedom that's already here, and that's achievable now. This whole world of our personal problems disappears anytime that we're not thinking about them, anytime that we're asleep, under anesthetic, unconscious for any reason. It's all gone. It's not to say we don't care about the world. Of course we do. But we can only make effective change in the world from here, from who we really are. And it begins with our awakening, our seeing that we're already free. Okay, so hopefully I've lit some kind of fire underneath or inside or something. And if anyone has any questions, I'll take up to 5 questions here tonight. We'll go with Tayama. No more hands, please. Okay, we'll do the hands that are up there. No more now. Thank you.
Hi, Helen.
I love.
Oh my goodness, I just recently found you 2.5 weeks ago, and it's just been so beautiful to have sent myself all of the words and all of the messages of truth. It's just been so, so beautiful. I and then it's also been very chaotic in the last couple of weeks too. It's like I've sent myself every invitation to fear and anxiety and all of these things, but you're teaching on cause and effect as one really shifted things on Sunday for me as I was seeing the shoulds and the shouldn't and all the pieces where there was still division in the being, or not the being, but in the character. And I'm just so, so grateful for everything that you're doing and the time and the effort. It's just amazing. And I wondered if it's possible to do a little self-inquiry.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite thing to do.
I would
Glad you
love to
asked.
do that with you.
Yeah. Let's check in together now, and everyone can join us. We can all do it together. Let's have a look and see what you are. What do you find when you look for yourself?
Hmm. There's butterflies.
Yeah.
There's sound of a fan. There's nervousness. There's breath.
Mm-hmm.
There's space. Lots and lots and lots of space. There's the thought that with the space, then everything else can unfold.
So the space, is it intangible or tangible?
No, it's ungraspable,
Mm-hmm.
so intangible.
And are you someone in the space or are you the space?
The mind wants to say you're stuck as the someone in the space, but you know that you are the space.
Yeah, can you
So
find a someone? Can you actually find someone in the
no,
space?
I can't find her. I can't find him, her, whatever. I can't, it's unfindable,
There's
undefinable.
only this which is not an object, right? And it's not tangible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what problems does this space have?
Oh, that's really quite hilarious.
It is, right?
It's like it's the cosmic circus. I always wanted to join the circus. I just realized I am the circus.
Well, maybe there's a circus going on inside us, we could say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's the problems are yeah, they're the form unfolding as invitations to what? To the space. I don't know. I don't
So
know.
30 minutes after we've closed this Zoom meeting and your mind says, oh, you lost it now. You
Yeah.
lost what you saw on Satsang. Still,
Mm.
is anything happening to you?
No, it's not possible. It's not possible.
Yeah. Has anything ever
Not po
happened at
not
all?
possible. No. None of it.
None of it.
None of it.
I
None
love
of
the
it.
honesty. Yeah. Can anything make you forget this?
No. 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 Oh my God. Oh my God.
Did you remember this? Are you the one remembering or forgetting even?
No.
We're on a roll.
Remembering and for no, remembering and forgetting doesn't even exist.
If they did, they would just be shapes, thought forms happening in front of you, right? I remembered who
Yeah.
I am. I forgot again. I remembered. I forgot again.
Ah. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. It it's impossible
Hmm.
to
You
be
are
it's impossible not to be here in the
as,
now.
as
The
this.
billion as this.
Yeah.
The billions of dollars spent to find the now is a joke. Oh my goodness. Oh.
So anything now that mind brings to you, you have to weigh it against this
Mm.
you're experiencing that is real. Mind says you're
So
going to
is it?
get this. No,
Yes.
no, that's
Yes.
not. Yeah.
That's been happening so much the last 2 weeks. So I've I've took here a sentence that says thank you and not now.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. That's good. We're not making it mind wrong. We're just understanding that it's in phenomena and it can't really understand this that you are.
Yeah,
It's kind of really convinced that you're someone trying to wake up to this. So all his advice is coming from there, which is not
totally.
so useful because you already are this.
I it's impossible not to not be this.
Yeah.
Wow.
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 So just coming
Yeah,
back,
so
experiencing this again and again and again
and
until
again and
it just
again.
kind of permeates your whole mind and body and your whole life.
Mm. Yeah, so when things are showing up like the car breaking down and pain in the back and this person they're doing this or whatever, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Thank you and not now.
Yeah. And if the body needs to call the mechanic and get the car repaired, it will all by itself.
Yes.
And you're just here
Yeah, the
watching
yeah.
as
Yeah, and the body did that and there was only one part in the entire province for that particular car. Hilarious.
Mhm.
Yeah. so funny. Oh,
Freedom right
thank you.
now. Yeah.
I
Wonderful.
am already free.
Yeah. And could never not be.
I could never not be and will always be.
Hmm. Only option.
That's that's why the present, the past, and the future are one unending, unfolding, mysterious, unknown present moment.
There is no past, really. It's gone, right?
No,
It
it's
was
not
now when
here.
it happened. It exists
Yeah,
only as thoughts in the mind now.
same as the future,
Exactly.
only as a thought.
When you get
Always.
there, it'll be now.
Ah,
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful.
thank you. Thank you, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Thank you. Um, I am sharing, I believe, the Tayama experience here of your directness was very helpful today.
Oh,
Uh,
wonderful. Good. Thank you.
so thank you. There was a moment where, an extended moment, where the humor of this really struck me. Not that what you're saying was inherently funny.
Yeah, I get it though. Sometimes it's all I can do to not laugh when I'm sitting here, you know?
Yeah,
Because I remember it seems extraordinarily real that we're a separate being and all of that, right? It seems so real for
it's
so
so
long.
compelling. Like I've been adhered to experience this whole time,
Yeah.
like a virtual reality headset, and then you take it off and you're like, oh, I didn't have to take
Whoa.
any of this that seriously. it
Yeah.
it just struck me as being so funny, and that created and still creates in my sense right now such a lightheartedness of, oh, this is so much easier than I thought it was.
Yeah. There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing to push against, nothing to try to hold on to.
Mhm.
It's all you. You
Yeah,
in the shapes that you're making. It's about play then, isn't it? Consciously experiencing yourself. There's all the infinite number of forms you can appear as, these two forms and everything else. And it's a very different experience from there.
yeah, play is a great word, for how this strikes me from this perspective. um, so I just wanted to give you that feedback and say thank you for the directness. It really, really helped for me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Good to talk to you.
You too.
Thank you. Lean?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I also really enjoyed that you were direct. It's very helpful. Um, yeah, thank you very much. Um, I also recognized all the things that can go wrong, like all the like the loop, which the mind gets stuck as if it's so real, but it's completely disconnected from reality. And like yeah, just keep on being invested and trying to solve these things and like but like lately I just especially these last days I felt some frustration about like it seems a bit as if I know it's all not real and like I know it but it's still like I can't help it I cannot say what I don't experience like um I I keep on I keep on seeing that I keep on experiencing awareness as awareness or being aware of awareness or seeing that everything is empty or seeing the joke of it all. But I also constantly keep coming back to thinking it's all real. Like it's like such a habit of thinking that it's like that there's really like I'm looking at a screen and a person and um, it's also what I'm experiencing now. But like constantly it's
Seen
yeah.
that every apparent form is pure empty consciousness in disguise, right? If we see that even once, um, and then we experience later it all seems really real and we're really invested in it, like really invested in it. Has anything happened then or not? Because before we would say, I saw it so clearly, and then I was gone back into the illusion again, and I was stuck in it for so long, and then I finally found my way back out. But from the awareness, the consciousness, has anything happened?
No, but it always seems again as if it's like I know nothing happened, and I always come back to this place. I mean, it's true like there's not even I who come back, but it
There, right
just
there, stop
seems real.
right there. If there's no I to come back, there was no I that went out,
Yeah. But
right?
why does it seem real again? Why do I why does it seem again as if there are objects? It's just frustrating. I do not want, I feel like I've had it with this awakening, like a journey thing. Like I just wanted to stop.
Is it happening to you? This problem that you're describing right now, is this your problem?
No.
You have totally failed to stop this apparent identification in, out, self, person, self, person, self, person, self, person. Totally failed to stop that happening. Why have
Mm-hmm.
you failed? Because you're not good enough or because it's not your job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I cannot but fail because yeah,
You
it's
have to fail
yeah.
at trying to stop this seesaw that's going on this roller coaster because you are just here. You can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
All you can really tell me, you can't really say with any certainty that you fell into illusion and came back out again. All you can say
No.
is that the sensations in the body changed and the thoughts in the minds changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you can really be sure of. Emotions went from higher frequency to lower. Mind went from fairly quiet to really insane. Is that any evidence of a person or anything that needs to be done? Aren't you yourself, even when the mind is doing its thing and the emotions are doing their thing? Have you changed at all in that?
No. No, when you ask it, it's very clear. But it's maybe good also to see that I cannot but fail, that this so-called person cannot but fail at this journey of awakening. This will always fail. But it's
And
not a
even infinite consciousness has to fail at this journey of awakening because it is already awakened free.
mm,
It can't even stabilize or any of that stuff, those very fine ways we hold on to the illusion. It can't embody this awakening. That's going to happen on its own too.
mm.
So these problems seem to be very real because we really think they're happening to us.
And so
When
like
when I'm knowing myself to be the formless consciousness, no problems at all. Later on, I seem to forget and seem to identify again. But what would the consciousness say about that? It would say nothing happened. Mind says something really, really happened, and we need to stop it happening again. Whichever one you go with determines what's going to happen in the next moment.
so it's just about not getting invested in this whole thing.
Have you ever
Yeah, it's true.
invested? Have you ever identified with the mind?
I no,
Have you ever fallen into illusion?
no.
Have you ever brought yourself back out of illusion? So next time it seems to be happening, you just go, get yourself some popcorn, eat your popcorn, watch what happens. Do nothing about it at all. Nothing to do with me. And see what happens. It'll disappear so fast. You'll be like, this big storm cloud of emotions and thoughts will just gone. Because you're
Just
so
watch it like
powerful,
a
you make it seem real, right? If you give it any, if you think that something's happening, it will be a real happening. So you just, attention's going with thoughts. Okay, go. I'm not bothered. You go, attention, right? And it will come straight back to you.
but if the thoughts go, the emotions go. But then if
Even
at a certain
attention goes to those thoughts, even if the body gets very contracted, tight, a lot of emotion, you do nothing about it. You have no hands anyway, right?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
are you going to do about it as consciousness? But what we do is, I have to sort this out now. I have to come back out of this mess I'm in. But you said you just go, no, thank you. It seems too simple, but it does work because the moment you try to do anything about the illusion, that is the illusion, right?
Mhm.
The idea that I can do something about this. And in reality, we're just watching as awareness that is always free, consciousness, presence. So I used to write journal pages of, oh, I fell into illusion again today, and I did this, this, and this, and finally came out of it. And then I went back and read over it like a few months later, and it's like, that's hilarious. I actually thought all of this, it wasn't hilarious at the time,
Mhm.
but I actually thought it was all happening to me. Finally, it was like, the next time it happened, I'm not going to try to do anything about it at all.
Like in a sense of not solving anything, not trying to change anything, not, but if there's like spontaneously something happening, like a
Just
reaction, when it's
feel
just
it,
happening.
right? A strong emotion gets triggered or something, right? And there's a lot of thoughts, and you can feel your attention is like, I'm going, I have to go with it, you know? Like really. And we go, no, don't go, stay here. But if you just don't say stay here, just let it do what it wants to do, it will
Mhm.
all disappear, this heavy fog of illusion. It's not any of that stuff that makes us suffer. It's the idea that we can stop it or do anything about it, or that we need to. So get your popcorn out, watch this movie called I'm Falling into Illusion. And then the next scene is I come back out of illusion. And you can guess what the next scene is. I
Yeah,
fall back in. Really boring movie. We've seen it 100 million times.
sounds predictable. Yeah.
If you just watch it, even just once or twice, it will never happen again. Consciousness is not doing anything.
Thank you
Let me
very
know
much.
how it goes, yeah? Well, I know how it goes, but yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Nancy,
Hi, Helen. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
I'm now totally confused. Well, that illusionary separate self is totally confused now.
Good,
My topic,
really good. That's
yeah,
good.
that's is good. Okay. My topic is health
Yeah.
and like chronic illness, not life-threatening, but with a gazillion of symptoms, sometimes made up by anxiety, sometimes real, like real what the doctors say, you know.
Yeah.
And now I was going to ask you about contemplation, like with the fear, like I'm not safe, blah, 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 blah. But now I'm hearing, get the popcorn out. So,
Contemplation is a way to get the popcorn out. It's another way to get the popcorn out. Contemplation won't solve any problems. It will only show you that you're already just watching them.
oh,
Contemplation will show you that you're not the one believing thoughts. It doesn't help you transcend thoughts. And I used to feel the same way, like, how am I supposed to do contemplation if I'm not doing anything? But the mind is going to ask a question. Is it really true? You know, whatever it asks. And you're going to watch all the answers appear like the question, right? It's happening spontaneously. But don't worry about that.
whatever I feel like, if I'm like, for instance, today, I've got symptoms, blah, 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 and I'm, getting all anxious, separate selves getting all anxious. I can try to either just get the popcorn out, and if it's not working, I'll go with that question. Is it really true? Blah, blah, blah. Is that?
Do you have a sense of the emotion that's coming up with this?
Yeah, it's the fear. Most of the time it's a fear, or sometimes the like sadness, like
Hmm.
helpless kind of
Yeah.
those.
So just asking the question, is it really true? I'm not safe, or whatever the belief is underneath the fear, allowing all the answers to come. And that's why contemplation works, because the consciousness that you are is just allowing all the shapes, the forms. And that's all we're doing in contemplation. We're asking a question, and And we're being open to every answer, the clock ticking, the dog barking, the thoughts about the question, the emotions, everything, everything. If your stomach rumbles because you're hungry while you're asking, that's another answer too. Everything.
I tried it, but I feel like I'm doing it in order to get rid of my chronic health issue.
That's okay. We
Is
all
that
start from there, right?
okay?
But just bringing as much curiosity as you can to it. Is it actually true I'm not safe?
Yeah.
Right, there's always going to be two motivations when we start any spiritual practice. One is going to be, I really just need to get out of trouble right now. Please fix this problem. And the other is the consciousness that's just really just actually curious if this is true. And over time, the first motivation is just going to burn away. And you're going to love contemplation just because it feels so good because you can't suffer when you're asking a question and you're open to all of the answers.
Well, at the moment the problem is, oh, it's not a problem. I'm just crying for like, I don't know, half an hour or an hour when I do that, when I ask those questions to
Does it
myself.
feel good?
Well, yeah. Oof. It feels good to get it out, I guess. Yeah. I can't
So,
say that I'm blissful at.
oh, but we're only shooting for peace right now, right? Bliss will
Okay.
come later. Peace and equanimity. And noticing the most important thing is that when you're honestly asking, openly asking a question, you cannot be suffering. You can't believe a thought and question if that thought is true at the same time.
I can't. Why not?
Because to even ask, is it really true I'm not safe? You wouldn't even ask that question if you were 100% convinced, right? Can you see? You're somewhere between 100% convinced and 0% convinced, right? Every time you ask the question, you're flipping this over.
Oh,
And actually, even more amazing, when you ask any question, is it really true I'm not safe? You can't believe any thought in that moment. This is why it begins to feel so. There's an openness to the system. The energies that need to move can move. Tears might come. Whatever happens, we just come back to the question with this openness. And it begins to feel so nice just to not, and don't actually know if this thing is true. We've been living the idea that it is true. And boy, has it shown up everywhere. Our finances, our body, our relationships, everything, right? This mirror image. The moment we actually question, is it actually true? Even though my life might be screaming at me right now, yes, it's very true. I'm going to ask anyway, because I really just want to know. In the asking, we're stating that I'm not so certain. There's just a little gap at first. I'm not 100% convinced that it's true. 99.9%, and that's enough of a gap to start with, right?
all right. And then so it's kind of an ongoing thing, like doing it every day kind of thing.
5 minutes a day, or if you can, when the emotion comes up, if you can, right then. Sometimes it might feel too strong in that moment, but you can just come back around to it when things have calmed down a little bit. And the first thing that begins to happen is in allowing all the answers that want to come, we're not suffering because we only suffer when we fixate on one answer, the thought, yes, this is true, or when we fixate on the experience or the emotion. We've closed ourselves down, right, into a someone, contracting around one answer. Contemplation is the art of asking a question which opens us up to all answers. It's
All right.
actually living as the consciousness.
But the answer is not important, as I've heard you saying.
Not
It's
really at all. I mean, the answers will get more and more pleasant the longer you ask this question, and the body will begin to reflect it more, and the finances and everything that you are safe and have always been. By that point, you won't really care because you'll just be feeling so good.
all
It's a
right.
lifeboat, right? A lifeboat. The question is a lifeboat. You cannot suffer while you're asking it.
All right.
Incredible
Okay.
as it seems.
Oh, that would be great. Hope I'll ever get there. No, I'm
You're not
already.
suffering. Even thinking about asking the question, you're not suffering right now, are you?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. True.
When I really figured this out, I turn my whole life into a question. Like anytime I'm feeling bad in any way at all, I must be believing some thought, and I don't even need to know what that thought is. I could just kind of ask a question, any question, and it just began to happen more and more spontaneously, this questioning as a way of living rather than something I did in an emergency. It also was like that too, for a while.
Oh, like questioning every troublemaking thought, kind of, so to say.
Yeah, but not in a oh my God, there's all these things to look at. It was more like, is that actually, well, there's another one I've always believed to be true. Like you just start to really see it.
Yeah.
When the mind says you're not good enough, you go, yeah. But after a while, it's like, well, wait a minute. Let me, I'm not just going to blindly go with this. Every time you question if something is true, you get back a little more life force that you've invested in it. The body can naturally begin to heal itself then. All the energy we've invested in these thoughts, without realizing, of course, begins to be freed up. But that's what love and bliss is. It's just an abundance of life force, right? Vitality, well-being. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful question. Thank you. Aaron?
Hi. Hello, Helen. Helen, thank
Hi.
you. Thank you for the enlightening message. That was very helpful
Thank you.
for me. I wanted to just wanted to ask you, what is the like, because I've been experiencing a major disruption in my life recently. My wife left the house, and I've spent a lot of time invested in her financially, emotionally, and a lot of time working to help her. She's an immigrant. I live here in the United States, and I brought her to the United States, and she left after 6 months. Just left, vanished, like took all her stuff and left. And it left. It was a little devastating, although I know that it's only images that's coming and going. But she left me with all the financial burden,
Yeah.
which put me in a state of shock, nervousness, a lot of nervousness, because now I'm responsible for everything that I thought that she would help me with. And I've been just doing a lot of contemplation, a lot of self-inquiry. Your self-inquiry uh, video that was put out, that you put out the other day, was very helpful for me. So thank you for that.
Okay, good.
And it's just been it's very some pain. I've been seeing, even though I know that the self is only, I am the intangible, because I've had clear seeings of seeing that everything is real, but it's not real. I mean, I'm the intangible that's just seeing images and things play out in front of me. But a part of me also is trying to get away from the contraction and the pain
Yeah.
of seeing things, because it's just a little devastating because it happens so fast and so suddenly.
Of course, right? We've had so much energetically and emotionally invested in certain beings and things in our life, and our mind has been very set that this is how it's going to play out in the future. This is what's going to happen. And when life moves a different way, there's a kind of a shock, like you said, absolutely, and a whole lot of emotions that we really haven't wanted to look at. But the biggest thing we can do right now to really stop suffering is to be compassionate to that part of ourselves that really is trying to just escape, right? Doesn't want to look at any of that. There's some part of us that's always going to turn away from a negative emotion or a contraction, or when our life falls apart in some way, there's always something inside that says, no, I'm just, I'd rather stick my head in the sand and, really just not deal with this. For the longest time, I expected that to stop or go away as awakening deepened. But I found it was actually more about just being loving and compassionate to that, how the real self would be with that egoic sense of self that is really its life is falling apart, isn't it? No wonder it has had this idea, this is how my life's going to go. I'm going to be with this person. I'm going to do this. We're going to do that. And life is suddenly going in the opposite direction. Can
Yeah,
you sit with that as the consciousness that um, is watching every shape, including this egoic sense of self that's really having a hard time right now? Like you would sit with a small child that's just, got itself lost and doesn't know its way home or something. Something is always going to say no to suffering, isn't it? Inside is the sense of who we thought we were. When an emotion arises, it's going to say no. When a self-inquiry needs to happen, it's going to go, I don't want to do that. It's always going to turn away, but we can turn towards that. What we tend to do is judge that, right? And say it should go away or something.
right. Yeah, because there was at points a lot of feelings of regret, resentment.
Yeah.
But then I had to ask myself, uh, why is there regret happening? Is there an actual person experiencing regret? And there's no actual person there. There's no person there.
Still,
It's
the
just
beliefs, the particular way of thinking that our brain thinks, even if we've seen there's no person and seen it many times, there's this myth that seeing who we are just automatically changes the way we think, and we no longer think in terms of separation anymore. But that's just really not true. We have to kind of look at this separation thinking non-judgmentally from the consciousness that we've seen ourselves to be, and just make a decision. Is this true or not true, this? So just compassionately taking the emotions in our contemplation, looking at the beliefs. Mostly what we do is we go, that is unreal, it should go away. It should just disappear. I am the infinite self, and this old idea of who I am should just disappear. But in doing that, we're creating a sense of being divided, right? Duality again. That,
yes,
that
yes.
sense of self for me felt so it had 1,000 things it could hold on to, resentments, people it couldn't forgive itself, all of that, right? And it only began to dissipate, to dissolve when I actually turned towards it as the love that we are, as the consciousness that we are, that
Mm,
would, and that cannot judge it. It's constantly ripping itself apart and judging itself, right? Did I do something wrong? Should I have done something different? All of that. Can you feel something that's already able to turn towards it?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good.
Definitely. Just been having compassion
Yeah,
because it's an opening. I've heard Eckhart totally explain it's a dark night of the soul
yeah.
when people experience serious or seemingly serious pain. It's a way of turning inwards for yourself. So I've just been being more compassionate and letting what unfolds for me unfolds because it's more purpose for me to turn inwards.
But doing that as that which is already free, right? Don't be a someone here who's got to work through all of this stuff before you can find peace again. Be that which is already peaceful. The most that you can, of course, as often as you can. And then, because all this stuff was inside our psyche anyway, our consciousness had all these beliefs in. Life is just reflecting back to us what's in there. And it's easy to kind of point at the outside world and say it's not how it should be. But anything that leaves our lives, anyone is going to be replaced by something even more amazing. I know that might be not important for you right now. You might just be trying to get through the day at this point, but as compassionately as you can turn towards that tangled mess of beliefs, it's going to shortcut the time till it's dissolved into this vehicle that the consciousness can use to express itself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so
And then
much.
lots of love. It sucks, I know. So
Yeah. But I, yeah. I'll get through it. And thank you for that message. That was very helpful.
Yeah, wonderful. Nate,
Hi, Helen.
hi.
I love that the question is the lifeboat.
Yeah,
As I sizing up my question, I think it's like, is truth behind door A or door B?
both.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be both. Get out the popcorn.
It's in front
So,
of and behind the door too. Right?
all right. So just the brief scenario. So I got triggered. Something my girlfriend said about a month ago. I got frightened mostly and angry, and I could feel that. So I just kept it to myself. And I knew, well, these are valuable energies. They're here on my behalf. They were rich energies.
Yeah.
And you said these energies want to return to peace, but they need my help to listen. So I listened. And it did. It turned after a while, turned into this wonderful, loving opening. And then it started giving me more information about, oh, this is the program got hooked is I'm not safe. And I needed my girlfriend. If she behaved properly, then I could be safe. But she wouldn't do it.
If everyone else
So
would just change to make me feel better, I'd be okay.
I'd settle for just her changing. But
Yep.
so then I thought, okay, so I'm through it. And I think, well, maybe I can talk to her about it, but I get a little anxious. And I was still invested in my point of view. So I just didn't say anything. Then I got triggered by something else about a week ago. And I had so much fear about revealing to her how screwed up I was, how messy I was, out of control. And the voice in me said, you better tell her. Don't keep this to yourself. Because that's just going to suck the energy out of the relationship. Anyway, so I
It also
decided,
makes you a separate person, right? You're living as a separate person in that moment. If I'm keeping this to myself,
yeah,
I've closed everything down and I'm being a someone,
thank you.
and it can never heal from there. I'm not saying you have to broadcast all your business all over the internet, but just the urge to be willing to share something, it begins to open up again.
So I forced myself to call her and tell her what was going on. It was not an easy phone call. But 10 minutes later, she called me back and we had this wonderful intimacy, like, which was a big surprise. I didn't see that coming. So I have knocked this dichotomy. Oh, I can keep this to myself. Then I don't have to go through all this turmoil and have this high wire act, and I'll get these wonderful gifts of understanding. And yet, then there's a loss of intimacy, it seems like.
Mhm. Do you really even have that choice, though? Is there a separate self making that decision,
No,
whether to share it or not?
right.
And I know I've just said it's better to share it, but it's only really to encourage that what's going to happen anyway, right?
Yes. And that is sort of where I ended up when I really asked the question. I sort of relaxed into, oh, I'm trying to game the system, I'm going into the future. How can I make myself safe by figuring this out? And I realized that's painful.
Yeah, and
Right.
there's two sides of that coin. I managed to open up and share. Yay, I'm a person.
Maybe,
I didn't manage to open up and share, and I feel terrible. Yay, I'm still a person. So don't claim success or failure in that, either side. Just see what happens. The body's either going to open up and dial a phone number, or it's not.
that's true. Yes. Yeah. I'm still looking to get an answer to feel safe. And
It's
I am
okay,
the safe.
right? It's okay just to notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't need to do it.
It'd be nice if it stopped, but I'm also not going to beat myself up if it's going on.
Yeah. Yes, I don't need it to be A or B. Like one of my favorite quotes is, if it's not present now, it's not worth having. So just is what I want here right now. Yes.
Always, because without the ups and downs of I managed to do this or I didn't manage to do this. There's equanimity anyway, right? Peace. Don't start me laughing. It's been one of those nights.
No, so true. You get me going.
Wonderful. Thank you. Richard?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
So this question is about anxiety, and
Uh-huh.
I wrote it down so for the sake of time. So it says, when there is no anxiety, realization of the no separate self sense, no form, the knowing awareness, the I am, is affirm life affirming and is joyful. That experience is joyful when there is no anxiety. But when there is anxiety, especially when it is manifesting as derealization and depersonalization, the experience is of a kind of a counterfeit no self, a disintegration of a self into a separate void of separate nothingness. Terror is what is experienced as a no self. Would you comment about that idea of the depersonalization as a no self counterfeit?
It's just ideas in the mind, right? What is it that sees both of those states?
Yeah, there's the I am that sees it.
Yeah. So take refuge there in the I am and don't go into I'm anxious or I'm not anxious. You stay here in the I am. We're not denying. We could say I am and the body is quite agitated right now, right? But that's different than I'm anxious or I've um whatever you could put after I am. Really, all you can say for certain about you is I am. Everything else you could put after that is the body and mind, talking about the body and mind and phenomenality. So just letting that happen the best that you can. Nobody wants to feel anxious, of course, just doing your best to allow it to happen and noticing that you still are exactly the same. Whatever the mind is doing with what's going on in any particular moment. We want to cling on to the highs, the happy, the expansive, beautiful feeling. But if we do that, we have to also experience the other side of that, right? This dark, contracted, really quite hellish place, right? Because we're just totally seemingly lost in that moment in illusion. So if we don't identify with either of those, the reward of that is the peace and the equanimity that's always available. And you're watching both of those. Those are states that are happening to the body and mind. And of course, we would rather not feel the lows, but don't pick it up as your own, right? You're watching this feeling happen in the body and thoughts about it and all of that. The body tightens and contracts. And then later you'll watch it disappear and there'll be lightness and joy. And what was all that about? Thoughts, what happened there?
Right.
Your job is to try to remain in the equanimity, the I am only, which is watching both of those and is undisturbed by both. The best that you can, right? Something watches both of those. And that which is watching has to become more important to us than identifying with if it's changing and if it's an experience that's changing, it can't be truth, right? Truth is not an experience. Truth is that in which all experiences happen. And there's safe ground there. Stability and equanimity, even when there's terror in the body. And I'm talking from my own experience here. Anything can happen to the body and mind. Of course, we would like the body and mind to feel better, but we're not suffering while it's going on, which is the most important thing. We're not elated when things are going right. We're not pulled down when things are going wrong. So you're just being conscious of or being aware of what's passing in front of you. And then these two seem, this roller coaster begins to level out. You know what I mean, right? Up, down, up,
Yes,
down. Yeah, avoid.
yes, yes, absolutely.
The moment you, that's nothing to do with me, neither is that. I'm not going to claim the good stuff and try to hold on to it. I'm not also going to push against the other stuff. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
wonderful. It's the only place to hang out where you can't suffer. Thanks. Wonderful. Good to talk to you. And we'll finish with Don. When you're ready, Don. There we go.
And it was really relevant.
We couldn't hear any of that, Don. You'll have to start again. Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks.
I really enjoyed the conversation that you had today, the talk. It was very relevant and not necessarily any more direct than I'm used to you, but if you say so.
Oh no, it just felt more direct to me, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you're always known for that. And but I really appreciated it and kind of struggling a little bit. I'm probably some wanting in there, but at the same time, uh, getting away from some really. I think I told you my mom fell and broke her hip last May or March, and now she's really struggling and doing it again and overworking. And in some ways, I feel the law is I'm supposed to report it because I think she's in a really dangerous situation. And at the same time, my being says, well, she really wants to do this, and this is what she loves. And I'm kind of torn about what's the right thing to do in this situation.
The right thing to
So
do in this situation is to realize that you're not doing anything. You're not choosing anything. Consciousness, formless presence, is not deciding what to do here. And from there, the right decision will arise spontaneously. The highest decision that's best for all beings involved will happen from there.
okay, thank you.
Simple answer. It's the only answer I've got for every question, but yeah, it works for everything. Thank you
Well,
so
I
much.
knew that was sort of like, why am I asking this? But
Sometimes
at
we
the
just need
same
to hear
time,
it. We just need to hear it as many times as we need to hear it, right? I certainly did, hundreds of thousands of times. So yeah,
yeah. Well, thank you.
thank
Have
you.
a happy, enjoy your holidays.
Thank you. You too. Yeah. Okay, let's leave it there for tonight. We had an amazing nearly 10 hands, even though I only asked for five, but they were all so amazing. Thank you for sharing. And if you are celebrating the holidays, please do enjoy it. If you tend to find Christmas a very difficult time, which is very normal for a lot of beings, sometimes it's the worst time of the year rather than the best. So I just want to tell you that you're not alone in that, and that I'm always there with you because I am you. You can always reach out energetically for help. There's a lot of help available to us. I mean, maybe I'm not talking to you. Maybe you're going to have a fantastic Christmas. But just in case, we really wish you remember in those moments to just ask inside for some help, and it will come. So, thank you. Much love to you all. Namaste.
Thank you, Helen.